Hi, this is the HearSej Podcast. My name is Seja, and this is episode number 49. I'm recording this intro on the 12th of March 2020, and the world is just feeling a little bit upside down at the moment. So I thought I'd put out a little podcast, no virus talk except for that little bit, and maybe it'll make you smile or distract you for a minute. That's my hope. So moving right along, my guest today is Andrew Falkous AKA Falco from the bands Mclusky and Future of the Left. Falco made a bit of time for me before the Mclusky show at the zoo in Brisbane a little while back. We recorded this interview at our friend's studio next door called Tim Guitars. For those of you who don't know, Tim makes his own guitars and pedals, and they're incredible. So if you feel like checking out his shop, you can search Tim with a Y Guitars. This isn't a sponsorship. He's just my friend, and everyone should go visit his shop if they're in Brisbane and they like guitars. Thank you for letting us record in your studio, Tim. Right before the interview, someone actually came into our room to check on us and said he loved the podcast, which wasn't planned, and it was extremely lovely. So I've left it in because it was kind of perfect timing, because that's what you want, someone to say they love the podcast right when you've sat someone down to start. Falco's strange show experience, one of, he tells several, was illustrated by Murdoch Stafford. Murdoch is a Brisbane legend artist and does amazing work. You can see his stuff on Instagram at Murdoch Stafford. It's Murdoch with a CH. And there's also a link to his shop on there as well. So go check it out. He's amazing. Thank you, Murdoch. As always, you can find illustrations on the HearSej Podcast Instagram or the HearSej Facebook page. Also, I'm always looking for artists to do illustrations. So if you are keen, drop me a line on one of the social media things. I always love hearing from you. Here we go. HearSej Podcast number 49, Andrew Falkous. Oh no, we're in here. Okay. We're holding the fort.
Yeah.
No worries.
Right?
Say yeah.
I love your podcast.
Oh, that's so nice.
No worries. Thank you, mate.
I paid that guy.
Hey, I love your podcast. Yeah.
That couldn't have been timed better, really.
It couldn't.
Hey, I really appreciate you making time to
no worries.
do this podcast.
When there's time, and when there's not time, there's not time. That's
so you're my second person from Wales. I realise you're not actually from Wales, but you have.
I lived in Wales
Welsh
for a long time.
Accent.
I don't. I have but I have a combination of accents depending on who I'm talking to. My accent is either a little bit Geordie or a little bit Irish, which is ridiculous because my family are authentically Irish as most American Irish people,
right?
Or Welsh because I lived there for so long.
Right.
So yeah, it is all over the place.
But I'm still going to pretend that you're from Wales.
Perfect. No worries.
I mean, that's what it says in, when you talk about Mclusky and Future of the Left, it's a Welsh band.
Welsh band, yeah. No, it's absolutely, it's whatever it needs to be to give it a narrative and like a vague identity.
I have read an interview with you that you say the term origin story makes your blood boil. And that's normally how I start my podcast.
It's just extra unnecessary content, isn't it?
Right.
Origin story should be there in the story. You know, it should be. It should be a part of the general narrative. Origin story is just a lazy way to do an extra film, usually.
I know what you mean. So I'm not going to go, what's your origin story? I'm going to say, I'm really interested to know what music you were listening to as a kid.
Well, both my parents were music teachers, so as a result, I wasn't interested in music.
At all?
I was made to play the violin. I did a thing called the Suzuki method, which is kind of learning by ear. Mm-hmm. So I never did any like official grades or whatever, but kind of enjoyed it. Me and my brother was especially made to do it. To say my brother wasn't a willing student of anything would be an understatement. My dad was like a pro-am opera singer.
Wow.
My mother played piano for like school concerts and stuff. And, you know, like anything your parents are into, you usually have an aversion towards. Because when you're a little kid, your parents are sad.
Yes.
You know, I definitely don't have that perspective on my parents now, but it's natural almost. If you're too infatuated with your parents, then there's probably a problem.
Some problems. Yeah.
And like my dad, like maybe my mother always loved the Beatles and Simon and Garfunkel, you know, your standard 60s fare as well. And my dad liked the Moody Blues, who are still to me a ridiculous band, in the good and in the bad ways. Yeah. I didn't really start listening to what you might loosely call popular music until I was probably 13, and then it was Queen. Really, I loved Queen. Yeah,
that
Queen.
Was it.
And from that point on, the bands I like, apart from kind of a brief foray into metal, which, you know, is synonymous with being a virgin. I mean, it is, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know. Queen, I love Queen to this day, but for Queen, I'm really talking between the first Queen album and I forget the exact order, but Queen 2, Day at the Races, and especially Sheer Heart Attack, which is just one of the greatest albums ever recorded. It's top 5 for me. News of the World, kind of all the way up to Hot Space, which is, I don't understand what that's meant to be.
What about the opera thing that Freddie Mercury recorded? Did you get into that?
With Montserrat Caballé? It's not for me.
Barcelona.
There's nothing, even though my father liked opera, there's nothing. Actually, there is a worse thing than opera to me. There's acid jazz. That's the only kind of... I don't
even know what acid jazz is.
Well, let your innocence be your shield. Don't investigate that any further. So Queen, were the first one, and then, you know, this is like 89, 90. There was brief forays, like I said, into Guns N' Roses or Def Leppard, and then some metal like Metallica and Slayer and stuff. And then it was hearing bands like Soundgarden and Nirvana and Mudhoney, and then it was taking... I'm not sure if that's a left turn. It's more inclining left, isn't it?
Sure.
What my friends growing up would have called student music.
Yes. So a bit more intelligent.
Yeah, I mean, although intelligence is very much in the mind of the beholder, isn't it?
Yeah,
but
I guess so.
But certainly that would have been the pose.
Yes.
More intelligent, a little bit more considered. You know, a little bit less. Get your tits out, Dungeons and Dragons. I suppose. Maybe
your tits out, Dungeons?
Well, get your
hear
tits
more
out,
about that.
stroke Dungeons. Well, let's face it, Motley Crue's raison d'etre wasn't to elevate the IQ of their audience, was it? It was to wear skin tight trousers and come on people. So,
yes, it definitely was.
Very much their scene, whilst playing very bad music. Maybe that would be more of a path to follow if the music accompanying it hadn't been so bad. But
I agree. I can't sing a single Motley Crue song.
Motley Crue for me, it's just aggressive dating. It's not actual. I had to review. Well, I say I had to review. I got paid to review the Motley Crue film.
I haven't seen it.
Well, you can watch it. It's possible that you can watch it.
One can see it.
I would suggest that your time would probably be better spent doing anything else. And
from
then on,
it? But did you read the book?
Yeah, I read it. Actually,
I quite like the book.
I read the book. No, I just wanted them. You know, the sensation I had years ago watching something like Jackass, which is television not designed for me.
Yeah, is
that basically the people involved are just the school bullies.
Okay.
Effectively, and I just pray for one of them to be seriously hurt, and that. But feeling that way doesn't make me feel very good about myself.
No, it's a horrible thought.
No, it's not as horrible as the people involved, though, I would say. For me, there are certain things I find funny. For example, I don't know if you've seen the British TV programme The Thick of It.
Yes.
That could have been written.
I love that
could have
show.
been written for me.
Yes.
That is so much up my street.
Yeah.
It's living next door to me.
Yes.
Jackass is something I had a visceral reaction to not
liking.
Well,
yeah, there's something to be said for people falling over and doing...
there is, but there's something... For me, there was more of a maliciousness to it.
Yeah, right.
Which... There's one thing laughing at one of your friends falling over and then all moving on and doing something else.
Yes.
There's another thing in pointing and look, a dwarf.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
okay, I know what you mean.
You know, for me, there's I don't know. I'm a big fan of bullying the bullies.
Yes.
They're the people I want to bullies, hence the talking on the stage and everything.
So can we talk about that? So I've seen you play in Mclusky and Future of the Left many, many times, and I always look forward to the music and the comedy. So I feel like you're one of the people that I think about when people talk about good stage banter. Do you ever think about what you're going to say? Does it just come out? Are you just a funny person?
Well, sometimes, no, I'm less funny in person, definitely, because I'm not as confident in person.
Sure.
Being funny is all about confidence and all about being confident in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And on stage, I'm very confident, although not always confident. You know, there might be a day or a crowd where, frankly, you can't get a word in edgeways.
Sure.
And there's one thing I've learned over the years is that there's kind of ideal size crowds to talk to, and the ideal is about 300 to 350 people, because you can manage it. Usually there's only one or two people talking at the same time. Whereas, say, as fantastic as the Melbourne show was the other day, altogether you're talking 800 people.
Yes.
You can't really, for a start, in a room that big, not everybody's going to hear what you say because of the acoustics, or you might be talking to somebody at the front, and what a crucial part of that interaction and everybody else enjoying it is somebody enjoying the other part. You know, they've got to hear the thing that you're responding to.
Absolutely.
And if they can't, there's just this disembodied comment, which in and of itself isn't funny. So a bigger show is less about the talking.
Yes.
By not necessarily by design, but by knowing what works as a professional. Yes.
Well, I find bigger shows, when I've played really big shows, it's you have almost zero connection to the crowd. You kind of have to, it's sort of like just you and the band against whatever wall is in front of you.
To a degree. And again, you'll say something, saying the other day, and you've got 50 different voices coming from different places, and really, and asking them to take turns, which I kind of try and do, but it's more just something I say as opposed to something I think will actually transpire. Mm-hmm. I mean, tonight is probably going to be about 500-ish people. Yeah. That will be quite difficult. Mm-hmm. And Brisbane crowds, how can I put this politely, are not necessarily the best listeners to talking. Sydney, for some reason, is great for this.
Okay.
Considering there's something about Sydney is great for the chat and them being quiet when they need to be quiet and not being quiet when you don't want them to be quiet. Especially the last two shows we've done in the Oxford Art Factory. There's been something about the dynamic which has really worked, although maybe to the point of, we did actually have a conversation about that show saying, listen, it was good and it's been funny, but we do need to ratchet back the chat a little bit. You know, it was maybe getting a bit much. Because see, usually what happens is that on the first day of a tour, I don't really know what I'm saying. There'd usually be a format in, I usually try and have a go at Eric Clapton and Metallica. They're two of the things I try and do. Very easy targets. Everybody knows who those people are. And for years, usually when the keyboard comes out in Future of the Left, I'll explain to Metallica fans what a keyboard is, and then appeal to anybody who's with a Metallica fan to help them get home safely. You know, point out what a bus is. So that there are those little, you know, standards, those little pillars that everything else is based around. But it's always best when it's not prepared.
Yes.
Because then it makes me laugh as well.
Sure. So, yeah, that's the best kind of humor.
Yeah, you know, because that's what I want.
Of course.
And you know that whole thing, we like it and if anyone else likes it, it's a bonus. If you have to say that, there's something wrong with you, because absolutely, if this wasn't fun for us, we wouldn't be doing it. And if all 500 people tonight had a good time and I didn't, then it's been a bad night as far as I'm concerned. You know, you don't give your whole life just to make other people happy. It's about you. It's about you as well.
Of course it is. Of course it is. So you mentioned your keyboard in Future of the Left. I'm just going to go straight in. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was so excited when I saw Future of the Left for the first time and you had a Juno 60, because I played Juno 60s live for years. I have had terrible problems with my Juno 60s live.
It's too hot. I'm not working. It's too cold. I'm not working. I'm not switching on today.
Yeah.
The pitch bend isn't working, or it's changed its parameters of bending. This note's dead all of a sudden. The preset isn't working.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a wanker it is.
But I feel personally, I have a really soft spot for that synth. I think it still sounds fucking amazing.
It's just got this low end to it, which no other.
The sub oscillator.
Someone's like, why don't you just get another keyboard and emulate it? You're like, all you're proving with that question is you don't know keyboards. It's the crispness of it, but also that like low end throb is just amazing.
It's heaven. And I would even go as far as to say any other Junos aren't the same.
Well, that's the thing. We don't have a 60 anymore. We just have a 6.
Yeah.
Which is, you can get close to it, especially for live. I mean, frankly, you can add that little bit of low end in the PA, but it's not as good. I can't afford a Juno different. 60. They're like, I mean, the first Juno 60 we bought was maybe 400 quid.
Yeah.
But now,
I got some for really
even
cheap.
in Britain, you'd be looking at $1,000.
Well, if you ever need to borrow one in Brisbane,
cool.
I've got.
How many do you have?
I've got a couple.
A couple?
Yeah.
My word. You're like an arms dealer for broken keyboards.
So what I really love about listening and reading interviews with you is that you talk very honestly about what it's like making a living as a musician.
Maybe too honestly at a time where it seems like no, honestly, sometimes I read interviews back and I think or see a bit and I'm like, that comes across as a bit desperate and needy, you know.
I don't see it that way ever, but I was wondering if you ever if you do ever think it's taking the veil off the
I do sometimes.
The romanticism of being in a band.
Not so much the romanticism. Sometimes I just worry that it makes me look a bit pathetic.
No, never pathetic. But
the romanticism, I mean, I don't really give a shit about the romanticism part of it.
Yeah.
I just don't like looking needy. Again, I'm the kind of person who, if I was having any mental health issues or whatever, I certainly wouldn't tell the world.
Sure.
You? No disrespect to people who do, different people who. But you know what it's like. One person can say they're dealing with this online, and you'll think, okay, they're dealing with this. Another person can use exactly the same words, and because of what you know about that person, it can come across as performative.
Yes.
And we judge that individually, but. Yeah, I do worry about that. Mentioning the money thing, sometimes it maybe comes across as, please give us money.
But that's okay. I mean, I think it's good for people to think, well, I shouldn't be on the guest list for this. I should buy a ticket, or maybe I'll buy a T-shirt for my girlfriend as well as a T-shirt for myself because it's helping this band that I love.
I think it has a value in terms of letting people know the reality of it, I suppose. But it's a question of keeping it, letting it know the reality rather than making it seem like it's a campaign. Yeah.
Do you do things like, stand at the merch desk after a show?
No, I don't because of my throat.
Right.
Like, if I stand at the merch table after playing a show, immediately after playing a show especially, because obviously it tears my throat up singing like I do anyway.
Yeah.
Future of the Left, the songs in general aren't as hard because there's more breaks, but there's more of them, and they're harder in terms of concentration. With Mclusky, the set's a bit shorter. Well, if we don't talk too much, anyway. But there's hardly any breaks vocally. In fact, I just have to engineer breaks.
Yeah.
There's a few songs, like if you're familiar with them, That Man Will Not Hang, Alan's a Cowboy Killer.
Yeah.
I just leave gaps.
Sure.
Because I have to do it for my own sake. And in theory, it should be easier because in Future of the Left, in Mclusky, Damien sings 5 of the songs, so that's a quarter of the set. But I really do struggle. I really, my least favourite thing about touring is being constantly anxious about my throat.
What do you do you do anything to protect it?
Well, I try not to drink very much. I drink lots of water. I keep sound checks to the absolute minimum. I drink this herbal tea called Throat Coat, and I put in a little bit of Manuka honey. Whether the Manuka honey adds anything to the care, who knows? But it makes you feel as if it does.
Yeah.
And there's actually a gargle that you can only get in Australia called betadine.
Yes.
Sore throat gargle.
Yeah, that's great.
It's the best. It's the best one in the whole world. And once actually at the corner, I think it might have been second corner show we ever did, so like 2004. It saved the show.
Amazing.
It's the kind of thing where the first couple of times you use it, it has an almost miraculous effect on your vocal on your throat, but its effect dies. Like I suppose like antibiotics, like smack, like smack, or or the work of Suede. It becomes a lot less. It becomes a lot less effective as you use it. So.
Do you stock up on it when you're in Australia?
Yeah, today I just bought three bottles. And last year 2 years ago I bought 3 bottles and I didn't even use them.
Oh,
but
good.
with Julia, who's from Melbourne, when she came over last November for her sister's 40th, I got her to buy me 3 bottles. Yeah. It was like, can I get you a present? You certainly can. I will have the pre-mix sore throat gargle, please. Because,
thank you, darling.
Yeah, thank you, darling. Oh, that would be wonderful. Would you like any touristy stuff? I would like the sore throat gargle. Thanks. Because it's important, because I do regard playing and touring, I'm a professional when I'm doing that. Yeah. Even though, the amount of money makes the term professional a bit moot. It's you're a professional in terms of your own self-respect and your reputation more than anything. And
so can we talk about your relationship with Australia? So now you have an Australian wife.
And now you have an Australian... Sounds like the end of a folk song. And now you have an Australian wife.
Ba, ba, ba.
Yeah. Is that a tragedy or not? I don't know.
I think it's a comedy.
Yeah, I think it's a comedy too.
But you've been here a bunch. I mean, like I said before, I've seen you play here loads of times.
Well, I think we worked out, me and Jack worked out, it's the 9th tour we've done of Australia.
Amazing. And you always come in the summer. I feel like I have this visceral memory of every time you're here, I'm like hallucinating from, just the heat in the room.
The second time with Mclusky was in like June or July. And once with Future to the Left, we came in it was for Golden Plains or something. Yeah. So maybe was that still February, March?
Yeah, that's still quite warm.
So, yeah, those. But generally speaking, a couple of times it's been for the Ashes.
Yeah, right.
And other times recently it's been so Julia can see her family over Christmas. And it's nice to get some warm weather.
Yeah. So how do you come here ever and not play shows?
That's never happened.
Never.
No. I'd be bored going somewhere without playing shows.
Yeah. So you never travel without shows?
We've had a couple of... I didn't take a holiday. I took one holiday with an ex when I was 32. I went to Genoa for 4 days. It was fine. I ate a lot of ice cream for 5 days or something. But I fucked my back on the first day.
Oh, no.
And I spent a day and a half in hospital.
Oh,
Let me tell you, Italian hospitals, wow. I was there for a day and it came out and they said, "You have a bad back." Like, thank you.
$20,000.
Yeah, no, it was no money. That would have been the final insult.
Oh no, that's awful. But, so you don't have a good relationship with taking it easy in another country?
No, you get into it. We went to Portugal this summer, and we went to Portugal about 3 years ago as well, but we tend to just do 5 days. I mean, Julia's always busy. Yeah. The idea of taking like a week out of her life would be ludicrous.
What does she do apart from play?
She works for a music college in London called BIM, the British Institute of Modern Music, or whatever it is. Yeah.
She's an incredible bass player.
She's fantastic.
She's amazing. Yeah. And can we talk about Jack for a minute too?
Of course you can.
I've mentioned him a couple of times on this podcast as being one of my favourite drummers to watch live.
I think he's fantastic. I think he's
incredible.
He's not just powerful, he's very tasteful.
Really tasteful. He knows when to leave, room for the song.
Because I'm not a fan of cymbals and hi-hats.
Okay.
Don't like them.
You don't like them because...
I don't like them because they're a cheap way of saying here's the chorus. And I don't like them because they make mixing drums really fucking hard because they're all over everything else.
Mm-hmm. But you could record them separately.
You can, but you're already in bad butch league territory now. We'll be playing to clicks next and doing things separately.
Do you never play to click?
There was one song on the last album which sounded better to a click called Running All Over the Wicket.
Okay.
Just had a kind of a throb to it. We tried it without a click, and we're like, you know what? We think this song might need a click.
Okay.
But in general, we try not to.
Because Jack's pretty
Jack's
spot
pretty
on.
good, but also because Future the Left is a live band.
Yeah.
And the recordings are really presentations of live songs with a couple of exceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we try not to. It's not really in the spirit
really
of the band as well. I mean, nothing against people who do use clicks, but to me, real rock music for me, I'm a total snob, but I keep it to myself. The kind of rock music I like would be very rarely recorded to a click.
What do you mean? What bands?
You know, the great bands, Gang of Four, Fugazi, those bands.
Sure.
They're going to play to a click.
I feel like maybe Gang of Four has recorded to click. They have like some pop songs.
Maybe I specifically mean entertainment.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be contrary.
No. Be contrary.
I was.
Yes, you didn't mean to be, but you
sorry.
were contrary. So accept reality.
Your second Mclusky, I always want to call it the first because it's the first one I heard.
No, call it the first, because as far as I'm concerned, it's the first. Yeah.
I feel like you took a lot of like Steve Albini's mic techniques for the drums and ran with it on your other records. I always feel like your drums sound like they have a lot of room and
not deliberately, but that was, I suppose, the kind of mindset, or I would hesitate to use the term scene, but it's a shorthand.
Yeah.
That's, the kind of thing we were fans of, I suppose. So
it sounds amazing. I feel like it's a real sound.
And Jack is a great player. And I mean, Jack's very much a tom drummer. That's the kind of stuff he plays. But yeah, just drums which sound self-evidently good. Drums which sound like drums, and drums which we never need to work on Jack's drums very much. We just record them and go, well, that's the drums. He's superb. Jack, if he was more careerist and worked on his haircut a bit more, maybe he could have played with anybody, big bands or whatever. So I feel very lucky to have continued to play with him after all these years.
Yeah. I mean, you've been together for a really long time, haven't you?
Yeah, like about 17
so nice.
and a half years or something. Yeah.
When you write songs together, what's the process? I can't imagine you sitting at home with an acoustic guitar.
No, that's
and
only
trying to
ever
work
happened
out.
once, actually. The Mclusky song, Who You Know.
Oh, right.
I basically wrote it on an acoustic guitar and brought it in, and that was it. But that never happens. I mean, because with an acoustic guitar, you create your own percussion.
Yes.
In a very real way, not even in a sense. You just go into a room. I might have some ideas I tried at home. It's usually things I've sung into my phone, rather than an actual guitar part.
So when you sing stuff into your phone, can you imagine the drums and the bass and stuff, or do you just sort of like sing a riff?
Yes, but I'm usually wrong.
Okay.
It's usually a start point.
Yeah.
And then everybody plays, and we see what happens. I just usually put my hand on the guitar and start. And we've got a little bit of a rule as well that if I start playing, you're not allowed to know what key I'm playing in or the first fret or anything. Because if
you do it with your back to the bend?
Well, you don't necessarily need to. Though sometimes you do. You're like, no cheating. Because if you can see what somebody else is playing and you know what tuning they're in, then you will automatically go to what you should be doing.
Sure.
And for me, I record everything because... And it's only recently I've actually been able to, what would be the best way to put it, to formalize exactly what this is. A lot of the really good ideas happen, and then what happens is your conscious mind listens to what your subconscious mind has just come up with, and it makes it normal. Mm-hmm. So it's all about capturing the idea before your conscious mind normalizes it.
Amazing.
So if you record everything and you can hear those little moments of creation, and I'll do this little rhythmic thing with the vocal, and that's the hook. But then the second pass around, I'll have made it more normal, and I want the spirit of the first thing.
That sounds amazing.
But
how often does that work? I mean, can imagine
nearly always.
Okay.
As long as you're recording.
Yeah.
But it depends. If you want something very normal sounding, then that's not for you. But it's only recently that I've realised that that's exactly what it was. So, and that was a bit of a 2 years ago. I was like, oh right, I see now.
That's what I'm doing.
And that's what I'm doing. But I can see that I'm just instinctively doing a thing and the thing you instinctively do, certainly for me as a musician, is nearly always the best thing.
Yeah.
But the key skill as a musician is to listen, and is to listen to other people. And luckily, Jack, Julia, and a lot of other people I've been in bands with, Jimmy, we haven't really written with Damien, so I can't really speak for Damien, but he's a great musician. They don't have too much ego to the point where I go, because the answer is nearly always take things out.
Yeah.
Jack will play something and I'll go, that's really good, but second Tom, take that out. And he trusts me enough to know that if he does it, it'll probably be right. But we also have enough trust as well to know that if it's not right, then it's not like what I've suggested is law.
Yeah.
Or something. So that's kind of how the relationship works.
That's great. And it's nice to hear that you all have that trust that, you know, there's no ego and there's no offense taken.
There obviously is ego, and occasionally somebody's a bit wedded to a part, and that's fine, and then it's my job to tell them how they're not wedded to them.
I love that. I love that that's the way that you've deciphered the way that your brain works.
Definitely with me, definitely.
Is it true that you wrote 8 songs called You Need Satan More Than He Needs You?
Yeah. I mean, you know, certainly began, we would get a verse, chorus, and see, for me, writing a song which goes verse, chorus is simple. I could do that. If you gave me 4 hours, I could give you 7 songs.
Yeah.
But that's not hard. Then what's difficult is to give it a trick to make that interesting.
Yeah.
And that's hard. The older I get, that gets harder.
To make it interesting.
Because I've done lots of tricks already. And there's only so many out there. But finding new ones, that's the challenge.
That song is, I mean, that's my favourite Future of the Less song.
Right. Yeah, I love that song.
And it's probably not just because it's the Juno song, but also just the lyrics and the timing of it. I always wonder how one comes up with timing like that. You know, it's just like not in my DNA at all, because I'm such a like 4/4 kind of person. But I find it fascinating. Like, how do you come up with? I don't even know what the fuck that timing is.
Well, I don't know what time signatures are.
No, I don't really.
Jack will tell us sometimes, and we go, oh, interesting, because drummers have to know more than other musicians.
This is 16, 17.
Yeah, and you're like, interesting. Is it good? Good. Can we play it? Yes.
Great.
Now we're going to do it. Leave the mathematics to the mathematicas. I believe that's the technical term.
Yeah, mathematicas is definitely. So you always write loudly. You never write quietly.
It's got to be. Yeah.
Now that you're a dad, have you thought about how that changes, the way that you write songs?
It just means you've got less time for it. And
right.
It puts more pressure.
You have to work in the gaps.
Apart from that, there's no fundamental change provided by that.
Yeah.
None at all.
You're not suddenly going, I can't talk about Satan anymore.
No. If anything, she needs to hear about Satan at the earliest possible juncture. Because Satan is out there. Satan is king, I suppose. I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, Satan could be right here.
Could be, yeah.
So I could be Satan.
Well, Satan lives in many bands. Just mostly successful ones. Yeah. Anybody who makes anybody go to an arena is Satan.
You think?
To drink that beer.
What about Queen?
And listen to... That's not Queen, though, is it? That should be Queen. Well, Mclusky with 1 asterisk. That should be Queen with... I don't even know how many asterisks. It's pretty much shifting all the keys on a keyboard. I need Paul Rodgers and Queen, please.
But didn't they play arenas back in the day?
Yeah, but, there's an exception which proves every rule. It doesn't mean I wanted to see them in an arena.
Yeah, that's true. I don't want to see anyone in an arena ever.
It's like a formula, isn't it? The bigger the band, the worse the show. Because you can't hear, even if they are decent in their own comedic way, you can't hear anything. The drinks cost a fortune. You get treated like a sheep. It costs so much money. No.
Although last year I went to see Paul McCartney, and
I'm sorry.
That actually it was so good.
Oh, well, there we go.
But someone in front of us, my friends and I went, and we were singing that, and we got shushed. People in front of us turned around and went, shh.
You shouldn't shush people for singing. For talking.
Yeah, we were just singing along to Hey Jude.
Hey Jude,
eight beers.
I thought that was Megadeth.
A lot of your characters in your songs, sometimes to me they sound like the same person.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm very
lazy. Are they
lazy.
kind of the same person?
Not deliberately. they tend to be like compounds because you never want somebody to go, was that me?
Yeah.
You know.
Has anyone done that?
You know, I'm not sure they have. I certainly can't recall an incident, or maybe there was an incident. I had quite a bit to drink, but no, I can't recall an actual moment. I mean, some of it's explicit, like you should be ashamed, Seamus. Seamus was the name of our former drummer's dad.
Right.
So you should be ashamed for having your son was what it was about. But I mean, that started as, it sounds more malicious than it is because that was a joke when he was in the band, like, you know, so.
And it's a great sort of almost alliteration.
Yes.
Great lyric.
You should be ashamed, Seamus.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favourite songs I've ever written.
Yeah, I feel like they're almost, it sounds like you're singing about one guy.
Right.
That's a bit of a cunt.
You know what? A little bit of a cunt, yeah, but has placed themselves in a little bit of a different place in terms of the popular imagination. Yeah, you know what? You are probably right. But
I want to know who it is.
I can't fight that. It's probably true.
Look, I'm going to ask you my last question, which is the question that I ask everyone.
Right.
What is your strangest show experience? And keeping in mind that this is going to be drawn by someone.
I mean, there's lots of different, you know, there's lots of different incidents, you know, the standard ones, like doing a show in Merthyr years ago where I kept getting electrocuted and I got blown back past this was very early on, like knocked out, blown back past the drum kit, and the guy from the venue went, oh, we get this all the time. Or there was the show in Toronto in this place called the Horseshoe Tavern where we were just relaxing after the show, sat in the dressing room, and this very tall goth girl came in and went, just really chirpily went, hey, any of you guys into anal? Like, we just looked at her like, I'm like, I think you might have, you know, the wrong band. I mean, don't get me wrong, people in the band have had sexual relations with partners but it's definitely, if you saw our band and thought that was our focus, I don't know, something's gone wrong with your filter. And at the time, it was our former drummer. I just said, our drummer's in the bathroom. And just I don't know what. I don't think anything transpired, thank God. But as an opening gambit, it was a bold one.
That is really impressive.
I've never really. But the next time we played in Toronto, and Toronto's such a polite place. I mean, Canadians are very polite people. They're like, they're like Kiwis with earning potential. That was a deliberate joke. Thank you for playing. But I was packing up my gear, and this guy came up and started telling me how he'd killed somebody.
Whoa!
And I have a no mad people rule.
Yes.
Like mad people or crazy people, they're a drain. They make you worry about things. You just, in situations like that, that's why security were invented. Yes. Come over here, get rid of this person. You never fucking talk to me again. Don't buy my records. I genuinely don't think they did kill somebody or whatever.
Just wanted
they just attention. Somebody just wants to freak you out, of course.
What did he say?
He only got like 2 sentences into it. I don't remember the exact details. It was like, straight away, get the crazy person out.
Holy
no
moly.
time for. If you want to be crazy with me, it's going to be a very short interaction.
Yeah.
I just don't do weird or crazy or needy or violent or any of that stuff. You're going home.
Yeah.
You know.
I agree with that.
But, you know, strangest show experiences. I mean, for me, the most horrible thing is when singers of other bands spit on the stage.
Ugh. In support bands?
Yeah.
No.
I won't name particular bands, but we filmed a show a few years ago, and what I had to do just before filming a show that I was very keyed up for is get down my hands and knees and dry the stage with a towel. It's like, to say that's not cool would be an understatement.
Just spit in general is really yucky. You know,
when I run or play sport, occasionally there comes a need to spit, but performative spitting is just an act of pure knobbery, isn't it?
There's a band in Australia called the Meanies that are incredible, and he quite often will block one nostril and blow out.
Yeah, sinus issues. That's what it is. I have sinus issues, so I find that incredibly disrespectful. I need a safe space for my sinus issues. Thank you so much. And an egg intolerance. So doubtless they write songs about how much they love eggs and offend me even further.
So you can have cake.
Cake. Well, I can have cake in moderation. It's more. This is very interesting for your podcast. It's more mayonnaise or egg fried stuff. It turns out is an issue. So once I've got the money together, I might have one of those fancy posh middle class allergy tests.
Yeah.
To find out exactly why I am, rather than just throw up.
Yes.
You know.
Have a prick test just to see if you're a prick.
There's a lot of people who would like to comment on that. I am sure. Doesn't need a fucking prick test, I tell you. But yeah, particularly, there's definitely a really good anecdote there that I just can't quite call upon, like involving a thing with a thing, but I just can't.
That's totally fine.
I mean, playing with the Libertines years ago, we did. It was early Mclusky. We went to Europe, and when we came back, we had like a day off, and we did a show in a place called Harlow, the Square, which is a venue which is just closed down the last couple of years. And we turned up, and there was like a queue of kids around the block, and we're like, this definitely isn't for us. And the promoter said, listen, this band who we're meant to be supporting just for this one show, the Libertines, they've been like on the cover of Enemy and stuff, and is it okay if they headline? And we're like, yeah, of course, because you don't want to play to nobody.
Yeah, that's right.
As it is, we had a terrible show. My amp blew up, but that's not the point. Really not the point of the anecdote. When we were sound checking with the song College and Rock. So one of those bands got paid, I heard. One of those bands got fake tits. And while we were sound checking, this person, and from the other band's dressing room, but there were the smell of, I know what weed smells like. I don't know what smack smells like, but
neither do I.
I suspect there were smells going on, scents going on, which aren't your common garden band smells. Anyway, we were playing this song, and this person walked out of the dressing room, walked towards the stage, and stopped in front of the stage, and looked up at me, and I just stopped and went, "I'm sorry, can I help you?" And the guy went, "Is that song about me?"
Whoa.
And I said, "No, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are," because you wouldn't unless you were certainly at that stage. Yeah. And you know, your listeners and yourself can put two and two together by who that may or may not have been.
Whoa. Yeah. And then what? He just walked off.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. That's the end. That's the end of the interaction.
And now, do you think that song maybe is a little bit about him?
No.
It's about that guy. It's about that guy you always talk about.
Memorializing talentless cod poets who are better clothes horses and takers of drugs and potential murderers than musicians is not really something I'd like to do.
No. And now I feel like I just need to ask you one happy question.
Like a 19th rate jam, and I don't even like the first rate jam. So
I don't want to end on that note. I feel like that's a really sad.
No, that's happy. Come on, you've heard the music before.
I just want to tell you one more thing. One of my really great friends, massive Mclusky fan, and she said she wrote you a letter when Mclusky broke up, saying you've ruined my life. Do you remember getting that letter?
I don't remember getting that letter. No.
Did you feel like you ruined lives by breaking up?
Hopefully. No, I don't think we ruined anybody's life.
I think it's so nice though that people are so attached to your songs that, you know, they would be heartbroken for you to, or for them to never hear them again.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's that kind of thing which makes my life, frankly, and makes it possible to come over here and do this. It's wonderful. I think ruined my life is probably a little on the dramatic side. Is she prone to drama?
No.
She's not.
She just really loved Mclusky.
Maybe she saved all her drama for that letter. Yeah. But I didn't read that letter. I wonder who she sent it to.
Yeah, I wonder too. I'm going to ask her.
It's not like when a kid sends a letter to Santa Claus, the North Pole, Andrew Falkous, Wales. It's like, okay, it's not really on the famous person list.
She just loved your band beyond anything. And so it's so nice that you know, you're playing these songs again. and that people get to hear them.
Oh, it's amazing.
I'm really excited about it.
And it's apart from the toll it takes on my voice, it's a piece of piss as well.
Yeah.
It's so much fun, and doing it with Damien. I mean, Damien was a fan back in the day, but he's wonderful to be in a band with. He's a fantastic musician, and I always like to be in a band, although this is never explicitly by design, with somebody who's a real physical presence and a great performer, because I'm quite, partly by virtue of what I have to do on stage, but partly because of my personality. I'm not a physically very demonstrative person. I've always been quite shy in that regard. So it's great to have somebody who frankly is a bit more unbridled. So yeah, he's fantastic. And obviously Jack, when I remember I always pretend to forget his name on stage. I'll do it tonight. I call him Susan usually. But yeah, it's wonderful.
Tim,
really wonderful.
So our mutual friend Tim from Tim's Guitars, where we're recording right now, he was telling me that Damien knows how to play guitar both right and left-handed.
He does, yeah.
Incredible.
It is incredible.
And he plays the bass upside down with the high string at the top.
That's right. And now all he has to do is come up with a monetizable skill.
I love it. Hey, thank you so much
No
for
worries.
making the time. It was really nice to talk to you.
A pleasure.